Hello everyone, welcome to CodeForAny. Today we need to see this here the online grocery apps inside. We need to create here the admin apps for the logins. Need to develop here, and this we need to start here the new series for the glossary online admin apps. We need to start here. Now first of all, we need to create here the API for the admin logins. Now need to write down here app dot post and to write down here the slash dot API and to give this here the slash admin slash login. And now we need to give this here the two callback parameters. First one is the request and second one is the response, and to call this here the function operators like here. Then after we need to write down here the print here the parameters. We need to call this here the helpers dot dlogs and to print here request dot body like we need to set here. Then after we need to save this here the value inside the request object variables inside request dot body like we need to write down here. Then after we need to check this here the parameters are valid or not. So need to check this here the missing parameters. We need to call this here the helper dot check parameters valid and to give this here the response object first. Then after we need to give this here the request object and after we need to check here the needs these required fields. Need to check here the email address. Then after we need this here the password and then after we need this here the device token like this. We need to pass here and after then valid then to return this here the callbacks and to call execute here the next process. Now first of all we need to create here the authentication tokens. We need to create auth token is equal to generate here the helper dot need to create request token like this and need to write down here. Then after we need to call this here the db query and we need to write down here update user detail and now need to set here the column names. First of all need to update this here the authentication tokens. Auth tokens means access tokens. This column name is the auth tokens. Now need to set here the question mark. Then after we need to update this here the device token. Here the type of bus we need to set this same names as the columns. That's why I need to not change here the name for these columns. Now need to give this here the modifications date. Modify dates is equal to set here the now. And now need to write down here the where conditions and to set here first of all the user types need to most important check here because need to admin app logins need to set. That's why need to importance here the checking here the admins types need to give this here the question mark and then to give this here the email address need to check user entered email address and also need to check here the password question mark and to set here and then after and status need to also check here. Now need to create here. First of all need to give this here the auth tokens. Then after give this here the request dot device token. Now need to copy and to paste device token. Modify dates already give this here the value. Then after pass this here the user types need to set here the two admin for the user type 2 and user for user type 1 like this need to this here the value. Now request object dot email address need to pass this here the value And then after need to give this here the request dot passwords need to pass here, and last ones need to give this here the status is equal to once, means active users. And after need to get this here the query inside the callback errors and results. Two parameters need to returns this callback to write down here the function operators. Now first of all need to check this here the errors. If gets any errors, then to throw this here the errors and return this response helper dot throw html errors, and to give this here the errors and to give this here the response object and to return this response and to return these functions. Now need to next executions, that's when to call this here the returns lines. Now we need to check here the affected row. If result dot affected row more than 0, means the password and email address are valid, and also need to check this here the user types is are valid. If not valid, need to first of all the return this here the response sessions request. Response JSONs need to return here, and to pass this here the status set here the 0, and we need to return here the message. And now need to write down here the MSC invalid users, like this returns here the message. Now if valid, then to get this here the this users data are the needs, need to write down here the db query, and to write down here the select query, select star from not star, need to use this here the needed value, need to give this here the user id. Then after need this here the username, then after need to give this here the name, email. After need to set this here the mobile. Then after need to set this here the mobile code. After need here the authentication token. Then to return here created date from, write down here the user detail table, and write down here the where conditions, email, set here question mark, and conditions, passwords need to check here, and also need to give this here the status is equal to 1, like this past here the value. And now need to give this here the request object dot email and request object dot passwords need to pass this here. Now also need to get here the returns value, errors and result. Function operators need to calls, and now also need to again now check here the errors and returns. If here the gets here the result count length more than 0, then gets here the user data and to returns here. If not gets, then to set here the invalid users, copy again and to paste this here this value and to set here the payload. Result 0 objects, you need to return here like this value. And this is the API are done, and to save this here, and also need to check here the app user logins API, need to check here update users, and also need to update here the user tabs, need to check here question mark, and to write down here the end conditions, and now need to set here double quote inside the one. Like these modifications are the needs for the websites. And also need to check here the returns value, and you need to remove this here the password columns, no needs, because not written here the password inside the response. Like this sets and to save this here. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.